away from celebrating our 75th year of independence, a freedom hard-won. Many of our brave hearts have let down their lives so that we can enjoy this moment today. This evening, we are celebrating India through poems and music at our club, which was created as a platform to treat Indians and British equally. I would now call upon the Chairman Social, Dr. Pradeep Nimani, and the President of our club, Dr. Indranil Ghosh, to say a few words.
Thank you, Aditya. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Calcutta Club Committee, I welcome all of you to this program, Rootedness, as you can see, celebrating India through poetry and music. I would like to thank Chairman Social, Dr. Pradeep Nimani, and his entire team, all the members of the Social Subcommittee for having organized this program. And my sincere thanks goes to Ms. Ipsita Ģanguli. Ipsita happens to be a member of our club, and Mr. Sandipan Dey for having agreed to perform at our club this evening. As we all know, we are going to celebrate 75th anniversary of our independence on this Monday, 15th of August. Ipsita, when we were having a discussion about this program, about holding this program, she was telling me that this program, actually, she is going to, she has, formulated this program on that theme, on celebration of 75th independence. So let's see what happens. I wish the event all success, and I would request Dr. Pradeep Nimani to address the audience.
Thank you, Mr. President, for sparing your valuable time for basically announcing this program. He has got so many assignments today. We are having other programs also going on in the club. So in spite of that, he has found time to visit our program. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you. Thank you. We are completing 75 years of independence. Probably we are going to have 76th Independence Day this year. So 75 years we are completing. So when this proposal came, it really mesmerized me that celebrating independence, 75 years of independence through music and poetry. She is a literary person, I know. She has a lot of publications to her credit, and maybe in the book fair, if you visit, you will find that Ipsita everywhere. So now you can see that with rootedness, she has published a book also. You can see this. It's a small display, but nobody can see. But I will request you to kindly visit that side also. You will find that there is a book, Rooted, which is written by Ipsita. I think with this program, Rootedness, and publication of this book, it is going to be a wonderful evening. Please enjoy this evening. Thank you very much. Ipsita, now stage is yours. Ipsita and Sandipan. Now, Aditya, please.
Thank you. So this evening, we celebrate our rootedness through poetry and music. Ipsita Ģanguli reads from her book entitled, that's her latest book, Rooted India 75 and We the People. It's a poetic tribute to India. Ipsita Dey calls it a collection of emotions at this juncture of National Milestone. This book, she says, was inspired by her friend's grandmother, Lieutenant Aruna Ģanguli, who was part of the INA and fought along with Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, and her own maternal grandfather, Maharaj Kumar Shorish Chandra Roy of Nodia. One was ready to lay down her life, and the other, her grandfather, and many others like him, laid down his livelihood, title, and the way of life to the altar of a new democratic nation. It is pertinent to mention that Ipsita Dey's grandfather was a member of this club also, and her first memories of this club was with him. Her great-grandfather's portrait hangs just above the stairs. Since her book Rooted India 75 and We the People is dedicated to her grandfather, she feels extremely privileged to read from this book today here at this very club, where she feels rooted. A brief profile about Ipsita Ģanguli. She describes herself as a business consultant at Sunrise and a poet come travel writer come heritage and art enthusiast at Sunset. Ipsita writes because she must. Her poems have been published in several national and international e-zines and anthologies. She is also one of the main characters of the poetry film called Calcutta Cocktail. She has also ideated, conceptualized, and conducted a series of online talk shows entitled Cafe Conversations, as well as curated offline poetry events for Kolkata Literary Meet at the Victoria Memorial and at Kolkata Center for Creativity, amongst others. She has 2 independent compilations of poems of love, longing, and random pondering, that being the first, and Rooted India 75 and We the People. A brief about Sandipan Dey. Sandipan, when it comes to describing himself, is a man of very few words. When first I asked him about his profile, it was only a few adjectives that he gave to me. And I'll quote those. He's a musician, he's a poet, an artist, also a corporate trainer, who seeks divine from all spheres of art. He has been trained in classical music by Pandit Jashraj and also by Pandit Ajoy Chakraborty, in Rabindra Sangeet by Shagota Lokhi. Sandipan is also an artist and has also showcased his paintings at the Academy of Fine Arts. Sandipan Dey and Ipsita Ģanguli for you.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Aditya, and thank you, Indranilda and Pradipta, for gracing this occasion. India 75 and We the People. History and its milestones, forever evolving, a nation made and in the making. India, that is Bharat, turns 75. This ancient mystical land with a relatively new nationhood. A surge of emotions, then and now, for the idea that is India, for the nation that is India, for the union of states that is India. In 75 years, there is much that we have achieved as a nation. Freedom being the most important. How well have we the people taken care of that precious freedom? How well have we the people taken care of the power that is in our name? Have we emerged as worthy citizens, alert about our rights and dutiful about what we owe those who gave us freedom, who gave us this nation? Where are we headed? Where do we want to be headed? United in our love for our country, responsible towards our motherland? I often wonder how time changes. Actually, it flies on wings unknown and slips like sand grains from the fist. Where were we then when it was flying, slipping? Change is the only thing real. How it must have been for my grandfather when he was 14, listening to Gandhi and Bose on radio. And how it must have been at 22 to witness the nation being born. And in the process, he losing so much, yet holding on to hope, intent, fulfillment. For the nation was born and handing over to us independence, freedom, responsibility, a spirit to uphold. And this nation travels in time, travels in ideology, travels. Time flies on the wings of the unknown, and sand grain slips from the fist. We the people, we the nation, juxtapositioned at the crossroad of time.
Shomoy karo je nai, ora chole dole dole. গান হায় ডুবে যায় কোন কোলাহলে সময় কারো যে না কারো যে নাই ওরা চলে দলে দলে গান হায় ডুবে যায় কোন কোলাহলে সময় কারো যে নাই বিশ্বের কাজের মাঝে জানি আমি জানি তুমি শোনো বিশ্বের কাজের মাঝে জানি আমি জানি তুমি শোনো মোর গান খানি বিশ্বের কাজের মাঝে জানি আমি জানি তুমি শোনো মোর গান খানি বিশ্বের কাজের মাঝে জানি আমি জানি তুমি শোনো মোর গান খানি
And still it plays, that whirring sound in a loop inside my head. Spools. Was it called spools? But what did he play it on? It was so long ago. And then the gramophone that stood in the corner, the shape of that horn and the vintage sound. But what I remember most are his long playing records, ghazals, thumris, classics, and that screech of the needle stuck. Sunday morning music, unhurried octaves, unsullied enjoyment, now playing in the stillness of my memory. So much of our own personal lives is also a tiny part of this nation's life. For each of us make this nation, especially us. Perhaps the last generation to be brought up by our grandparents who lived through independence and our parents who are independence's children. And we think we are free. To love and to dream, we think we are free. To say what troubles us. We think we are free to speak from our hearts, when in fact we are neatly packed, stacked and measured from top to toe, slotted and plotted to be used. Used this way or that, in ways so subtle, in games so soft that it creeps into us, catching us unaware by hook or by crook or by hoodwink. And before we know it, we mouth someone else's story, work on someone else's dream, speak someone else's words. We live someone else's life, snared by soft games played by hook or by crook or hoodwink. Illusions of truth, illusions of loyalty, illusions of freedom. The very illusion that cast the net, forever enslaving us, leaving us, frothing at the mouth, thumping our chests, turning into perpetrators. Illusions.
সুখ আসে দিশে দিশে বেড়ায় কাতরে মরিচিকা ধরিতে চায় এ মরু প্রান্তরে যায় এ মরু প্রান্তরে। ফুরায়ে বেলা ফুরায়ে খেলা সন্ধ্যা হয়ে আসে, কাঁদে তখন আকুল মন কাঁপে তরাসে, কাঁপে তখন আকুল মন কাঁপে তরাসে, কাঁদে তখন আকুল মন কাঁপে তরাসে। কি হবে গতি বিশ্বপতি, শান্তি কোথা আছে? কি হবে গতি বিশ্বপতি, শান্তি কোথায় আছে? তোমারে দাও আশা পুরাও, তুমি এসো কাছে। তোমারে দাও আশা পুরাও, তুমি এসো কাছে। তোমারে দাও আশা পুরাও, তুমি এসো কাছে।
I ask, what do you do with your daily Durga? The one that birthed you, the one that birthed your child, the one that you helped birth. Tell me, do you invoke her in splendorous faith the way you invoke the goddess? When your daily Durga comes home, post her daily dose of dreary chores, do you ask her to put up her calloused feet and pamper her with some hot tea, reciprocate the way she would greet you when you come home? When your daughter Durga comes to you, hassled by a predator's self-inflicted patriarchal right of harassing her, do you tell her to be Chamunda and Chandi and Raktadantika, for that is being Durga too. Not just Lakshmi, not just Kamala, oh no. For Durga is she, the Bhuvaneshwari, the Brahmacharini, the Kalaratri, all this and more is she, your daily Durga, in every woman for you to cherish, for you to invoke, for you to worship daily.
प्रथमं शैलपुत्रीति, द्वितीयं ब्रह्मचारिणी, तृतीयं चन्द्रघण्टेति, कूष्माण्डेति चतुर्थकम्, पञ्चमं स्कन्दमातेति, षष्ठं कात्यायनी तथा सप्तमं कालरात्रीति, महागौरी तचाष्टमं, नवमं सिद्धिदात्रीति, नवदुर्गा प्रकीर्तिता पूजा करी मोरे राखिबे ऊर्ध्वे से नही हेला রাখিবে পিছে সে নহি যদি পারছে রাখো মোরে সংকটে সম্পদে সম্মতি দাও যদি কঠিন ব্রতে সহায় হতে পাবে তবে তুমি চিনিতে আজ শুধু করি নিবেদন
Sometimes, especially in the mellow light of autumn, when the sky is a happy azure and the clouds look like white candy floss, I get a smell, a familiar whiff, most unexpectedly in the middle of my chores. The smell of a dark room ensconced between the staircase to the first floor and the other room that leads to the dining room. Sometimes I smell the earthy, cemented smell of the veranda overlooking the garden where the babus and managers used to sit. Forgotten smells from the caverns of my memories, pushed back but never ever lost. Incongruous as it is amidst my world today, which is fast-paced, urban, rat-raced, yet these fragrances make me who I am, and I will always remain rooted to these smells, these visions, these sensations. The alarm would ring at 4 a.m. But who could sleep the night before? I would be awake in anticipation of the alarm, waiting to get up from bed, get ready and get going. The suitcases were packed, the car dicky was stacked, and off we would start. Shoptumi morning meant the 4-hour exciting car journey to my mother's roots. The daughter would go home, granddaughter in tow, along with dog and son-in-law, off to my mother's ancestral home. My grandparents would already be there a few days ahead to get things ready for the Durga Puja, which even then was almost 400 years old. Being my grandparents' pet, that past week of separation from them was difficult for me. The excitement would build up at the prospect of meeting them again, and all through that approximate 4-hour journey along National Highway 34, I would be belting out Dhonodhanne Pushpe Bhara, which used to be one of my grandfather's favorite songs. through the journey, I would be marking trees every year, year after year. We would stop only once for roti, bhujia, torka and chai at the roadside dhaba at Ipsita Ģanguli till we reached our destination. Past the ruins of what used to be Nabat Khana, past the first post, past the fields with the dighi on the left, past Deuri with the lions atop, we would reach the beautiful porch with the Corinthian columns. Sure enough, my grandfather would be waiting there till I rushed into his arms. I can still smell the talcum powder on him. I would then follow my mother in bending down, gathering the dust from the floor and touching it to her forehead in reverence to the soil that belongs to her.
জননী বসুন্ধরা আমি তোমার মাটির কন্যা জননী বসুন্ধরা আমি তোমার মাটির কন্যা
The same soil is part of my elements too. My grandmother would be watching this grand homecoming from the upstairs khirki, a window meant for the ladies' viewing, positioned above the porch. She would wait atop the stairs while we went around the downstairs living room seeking blessings from 8 generations of my mother's forefathers who looked at us from ancient paintings. Each room had a different smell. The smell of living history, the smell of closed doors, the smell of loving bonds. Atop the stairs, past the small dark room, we would step into the room with the huge oval table and the local earthenware doll cupboard, which was the dining room. Past that, another small room, diagonally opposite which was a long room that served as the kitchen. Another bend, another room, and onto Alshekhana with the huge flat beds meant for wholesome adda, and then the room with the brass bed, the hanging veranda, and the huge map of India from pre-independent times. This room was in fact my grandfather's bedroom that had an anteroom called Poshak Kamra, which doubled up as a card room and an attached toilet the size of a modern bedroom. Oh, this was just one section of one floor of the ancestral home. The makeshift arrangements once the Ondorer Bari had been let out. There was more. Rambling rooms with rambling tales. Shoptami was well into the afternoon when we would reach. And although I spoke to my grandparents twice a day, over phone, and visited them every other day from our Calcutta house to their Calcutta house, which was at a distance of 1.5 kilometers away, there was always something different, something very special about meeting Dada there. Just as special would be the treat of me sitting on his lap while he fed me fish head. No one could do it better. And fish head would take on a different taste when he would feed me. The smell of incense would float up through the hanging veranda and the tall windows of Poshak Kamra. Goddess Rajrajeshwari presided over the Triloks, and for the next 4 days, she too resided at that home. The Thakur Dalan was across the field from the hanging veranda and the tall windows of Poshak Kamra, and the sound of dhak would roll up every now and then. The next 3 days would be full of people, cousins from Calcutta, local people who would pay a visit, and food. Breakfast would be luchi, torkari, begun bhaja, and mach bhaja, fresh from the dighi. The pujo rituals followed by sumptuous lunch of bhog, followed by the late afternoon siesta on the flat beds of Alshekhana. More people would drop by in the evening. long hours of chit-chat and card games. The Puja Shankha magazines would be there. Song and poetry would punctuate the long addas. Not to forget the chips and chocolates carried lovingly from me from Calcutta by my doting Dada Didi. And then there were nooks and corners and hidden stairways and unused rooms in my adventure home. The Thakur Dalan with its Mughal architecture, the porch with its Corinthian columns, was a story of integration of different cultures and holistic, organic historicity. And the rooftop was my unending playground. For the little me, its largeness fascinated me. I would spend my afternoons there playing hide and seek with the local children who would come visiting. I would watch the sun set on the dighi and the waters turn golden. I would watch the roof turn silver in the moonlight and revel in the hoots of the Lokhi Pacha. Pujo days were a swirl, the swirl of dhuno and the iridescence of 108 earthen diyas of Shandhi Pujo. My grandmother would be driven the short distance between the house and the Thakur Dalan and would be sitting behind the cheek. The men of the house would all sit outside. I would divide my time between the outside and the cheek area. My mother was the first woman to step outside the cheek even after marriage, and even she would put the aanchol on her head in public during the pujos. The ladies would adorn their feet with alta every evening. The Napitpo would come every day and apply alta on all our feet, even on the feet of those ladies who would visit us. Mashis and mamas and their children would continuously be dropping in. My grandmother would perpetually be in the kitchen, either overseeing the pujo shamogri or overseeing breakfast, lunch, dinner for us all. Dashami would come with its unique rituals of Jatra Mongol and Bhashan. The deity would be carried on the shoulders of the bearers to the dighi and immersed there. And then Didi, my grandmother, and I would sit with the small bronze buckets of Rasgulla, Pantua, Shingara, and Bode. That evening, people would not stop visiting to pay respect to my grandparents on the occasion of Bijoya. My grandfather would be there greeting everyone in the upstairs sitting area. My grandmother would sit on an ashon on the floor of Alchikhana. I would take my position along with her. And everyone who came would get a banana leaf full of these goodies. It would be late into the night when the flow of people stopped. We thrived in them. Moments are lived through spontaneously in the joy of love and bonding. History keeps rolling, and with every passing moment, brick and mortar is left behind. Some bits lost for many reasons. Apparently lost. Yet they live on within us. They make us who we are, inseparably, organically, without a single premeditated thought. I can, even today, still taste the sweetness of that pantua that I helped my grandmother serve every Bijoya. My grandparents lived without the trappings of positioning. My grandfather was known to the people of his land as Baba, a father. My grandmother known as Boma, something her mother-in-law would call her, and she never grew out of the salutation. They never felt the need for any other salutation. Every other trapping or title was given up to the altar of a new democratic nation. They lived in turbulent times. Their land divided, their titles abolished, generations of their way of life ravaged by political unrest. And yet, they embrace the real in simplicity and grace, as does my mother, who is their daughter. The fragrance of that adventure home curls up within me at unexpected moments. I carry them within me, the love, the people, the emotion, our forefathers. Not in historical archives or grandiose flamboyance or telltale stories, but simply, spontaneously, in my elements, within my heartbeat. I carry them all in flesh and bones. Wherever I go, I am and will be forever rooted. Rooted in my legacy of love. Rooted in them. And roots run deep.
सजन मोरे घर आयो, सजन मोरे घर आयो, आयो सजन मोरे घर आयो। याद का घर। सजन मोरे घर आयो, आयो सजन मोरे घर आयो। मन मोरायत सुख पायो, मन मोरायत सुख पायो, मन मोरायत सुख पायो, मन मोरायत सुख पायो, सजन मोरे घर आयो। मंगल गायो, मंगल गायो चौक पुरायो, मंगल गायो गायो मंगल गायो चौक पुरायो, मंगल गायो चौक पुरायो, प्रेम पिया हम पायो, प्रेम पिया हम पायो, सजन मोरे घर आयो, आयो सजन मोरे घर आयो। मन मोरायत सुख पायो, मन मोरा अत सुख पायो, मन मोरा अत सुख पायो। सजन 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 मोरे घर आयो।
The lone baul plays his aktara, a song of sweet melancholy on the fields where man killed his own, frothing and fuming and foaming at the mouth, celebrating differences loudly, a cacophony of deluded screams. Delusional, aren't we? When we tear each other apart, ripping the basics of humanity, we forget the reason we all came together was to help each other live better. Yet, we choose to celebrate friction, fragmenting ourselves into robotic bits, little islands of individual arrogance, me and mine, only mine, gathering then into individual groups crying, me and mine, becoming mobs, shouting, mine, only mine. Each mob, dangerously like the other, losing individuality, like a snarling, frothing, fuming mass, each of them shouting, me and mine, better than thee and thine. Even as these mobs froth over, burning in hellish rage, the universe embraces them all. Day and night, sun and moon, the planets moving in harmony, and the morning birds early at dawn calling out to each other in different tunes, a natural symphony. And the sound of the tanpura and the sound of the sitar is tuned to the beat on the tabla in musical melody. If nature embraces differences, if different sounds can make music and different colors make a rainbow, then can we not cherish our uniqueness, respect our individuality, learn from our differences? Can we not remember that in these temporary bodies, we are here for an ephemeral bit in our journey towards the union with the universe? What if we can unlearn what separates and focus on what unites us all? What if we relearn to live in harmony, cherish life's melody, each be a musical piece in that symphony, rising into one crescendo of unity, reveling in the oneness called humanity?
सुर की नदियाँ सुर की नदियाँ हर दिशा से बहके सागर में बादलों का रूप लेकर बरसे हल्के हल्के मिले सुर मेरा तुम्हारा तो सुर बड़े हमारा चैन तैन तरज तैनैन तरज इकवट बनिए तैन तरज तेरो सुर मिले मेरो सुर से नाल मिलके बड़े नवा सुरताल इज़ंदल नम इरुवरु सुरगुं नवदाकुं दिसै वीरुणाणं आरिसे आरिघरा मुगिलाई मजया पोहि बरपो इजै नम इजै ನಂಬದನಿಗೆ ನಿನ್ನ ದನಿಯೇ ಸೇರಿದಂತೆ ನಂಬದನಿಯೇ ನಾ ಸ್ವರಮು ನೀ ಸ್ವರಮೈ ಸಂಗಮಮೈ ಮರಸರಂಗ ಯಾವತರಂಗ ಛೇ ನಿಂಡೆ ಸ್ವರಗುಂ ನಿಳಡುರ ಸರಗುಂ ಉಠು ಚರನನ ಮನ ಸ್ವರಮಾಯಿ তোমার সুর মোদের সুর সৃষ্টি হো ঐকতান তোমার সুর মোদের সুর সৃষ্টি হো ঐকতান অহরহ তব আহ্বান প্রচারিত শুনি তব উদার বাণী হিন্দু বৌদ্ধ শিখ জৈন পারসিক মুসলমান খ্রিস্টানি পূরব পশ্চিম পাশে তব সিংহাসন পাশে প্রেমহার হয় গাথা জনগণ ঐক্য বিধায়ক জয় হে ভারত ভাগ্য বিধাতা
How beautiful it is when colors stand together yet distinct. The soft violet, the deep indigo, the bright red, how it lights up the sky. And yet each color holds its own effervescent, ethereal, eternal. And may this nation forever stand together, heads held high, hands held together, a grand rainbow of people celebrating their diversity, celebrating their distinctiveness, celebrating their uniqueness, yet stronger in its unity.
রাত্রি প্রভাতিল উদিল রবি ছবি পূর্বোদয়গিরি ভালে গাহে বিহঙ্গম পুণ্য সমীরণ নবজীবন রস ঢালে তব করুণারণ রাগে নিদ্রিত ভারত জাগে তব জরণে নত মাথা জয় 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 হে জয় রাজেশ্বর ভারত ভাগ্য বিধাতা জনগণ মন অধিনায়ক জয় হে ভারত ভাগ্য বিধাতা পাঞ্জাব সিন্ধু গুজরাট মারাঠা দ্রাবিড় উৎকল বঙ্গ বিন্দু হিমাচল যমুনা গঙ্গা উজ্জ্বল জল
Jayo he, Jayo he, Jayo, 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 Jayo he.
Thank you, Ipsita Dey and Sandipan, for such an enthralling evening. Don't we all agree? It was a very enthralling evening. And now I may call upon Mrs. Gargi Banerjee to give the vote of thanks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope, as I had a wonderful time, all of you had a beautiful evening. It was a perfect blend of music and poetry, Ipsita and Sandipan, and it was an overwhelming experience. Thank you, Ipsita, for conceptualizing and organizing this program. You took us back to our roots. It was a nostalgic journey. Thank you once again. Thank you, Mr. Indranil Ghosh, our club president, and Dr. Pradeep Nimani, our chairman of our Social and Cultural Committee. Without your support and help, this would not have been possible. And of course, thank you, Mr. Rao and his team for looking into the nitty-gritty of the program and the minute details. Your help is very much appreciated. And last but not the least, thank you, guests and members, for being with us this evening and taking with us this musical journey. I hope you had a pleasant time. Thank you. And I hope also this is a beginning of a lovely, lovely long weekend. Thank you very much.